The Madden 26 trailer recently dropped, and there was a bunch of things that they put in the trailer and some of the screenshots that hit their website that kind of let us in on some of the smaller details that they will be adding to the game this year. I always like to break the trailers down and kind of point out some of the little things that they kind of hide in there. They don't put it right in front of your face, but they want you to see it. Now, I wanted to break this down a little bit sooner, but I just hadn't been feeling that well the last week, so I just couldn't really get a video done, but we're back today. Also, for those of you that are asking where the deep dives are for both Madden and for college, mostly because it's about to come out, I think they had a little delay with some stuff. It should all be coming out really soon. We're going to have a ton of information really jam-packed in these next few weeks, so make sure that you subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of those videos when they drop. Tons of deep dives, tons of gameplay footage, a lot of stuff is coming soon. Now, the stuff I'm going to point out in the trailer that's kind of hidden in there, a lot of it is kind of cosmetic stuff. It's stuff presentation-wise or equipment-wise. These are not in any way, shape, or form massive changes to the game or anything like that. Those are the things we really don't find out until they put out the deep dives, until they put out those really lengthy trailers for franchise mode, for gameplay. But when I talk about hidden things, it's just more of those little details that people are interested in knowing about. Not everybody finds these things that big of a deal, but some people do, especially when it comes to equipment. So speaking of equipment, let's start there because that is always one of the biggest things we're able to find in these trailers, the hidden things, because we can notice something on a player that wasn't in previous games. So one of the shots of Saquon Barkley, you can actually see a black undershirt. Also, you see the hand warmer behind him, which is also black, so don't confuse the two. He does have a black undershirt, which is pretty interesting because in the game, usually the undershirts have to match the color of the jerseys. And I remember asking the equipment people about this one time a year or two ago, if we can get different color ones, because I saw people asking about that. And they said that it was, I believe, a uniform policy thing for the NFL where they said that the undershirt had to match the jersey color. Now, obviously, in real life, teams break this all the time. Players break this all the time. They pay fines. It's whatever. But I remember hearing that that was a thing. But seeing as Saquon does have a black one in the trailer, that leads me to believe that we will be able to change the color of undershirts this year. Unless this is just a bug in the trailer or something, so unless the NFL changed their mind on it. Because another thing people ask is, why can't we have the pants above the knee like we do in college football? Again, that's an NFL thing because technically that does violate their uniform policy, so they don't allow Madden to actually put that in the game. They keep constantly pushing for it because they know most players in real life wear them above the knee. They pay the fine or whatever the case may be. That's how they play even if it's going against the uniform policy. They have it in college football, so the work is already done. They can easily put that in Madden if the NFL allowed it, and they keep kind of pushing for it, but the NFL so far isn't budging on it. Another thing I noticed in a couple of shots, but here is a picture of Mahomes. It looks like the spats on the cleats are finally thinner, and this is also something that I noticed in the college football trailer that dropped about a month ago as well. So seeing it in both of those trailers, to me, says that they finally put some thinner spats in the game because a lot of people do like to wear spats on their players. It's really common in real football for players to do this, but in Madden for the past few years, they've been very bulky. They've been like way overboard. So it looks like they have finally addressed that. Small detail things, I know a lot of people don't care about this, but on the flip side, a lot of other people do care about it. We also saw some new cleats on Kyler Murray in the clip where he's running. That's one area I would really like to see them do more, just because a lot of the cleats that they do have in the game are kind of outdated at this point. Not saying that they necessarily need to get rid of them. I think just keep them there if they're there, but they need to do a little bit better job, in my opinion, of updating what the players are currently wearing right now, because there are some stuff like that in the game with the Jordan cleats, and then, you know, there's certain Nike and Adidas cleats that are being worn right now, but there's also a decent amount of other ones that are very popular that still aren't in the game, but we do get some new ones right here, it looks like. Speaking of cleats, there's another shot here of Lamar Jackson. It looks like he's got some new cleats on. I can't tell exactly which ones these are, but I do believe these are new. I've seen multiple people mention them, so I'm going to just take their word for it that these are new cleats. For those of you that know what it is, just drop it in the comments below. Now we're going to continue on, but really quickly, I want to shout out today's video sponsor, Underdog. If you like sports and you like winning money, then you've got to be on Underdog playing their pick'em game. Basically, all you do is pick higher or lower on player stats, and if they hit, you can win some big money. And if you use my code RAY, R-A-Y, they're going to give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash at sign up, and they're going to give you a free play. So for example, right now during the NBA Finals, they'll give you either Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Tyrese Halliburton to get a single point. All they have to do is score 1 point, and that's it, you win. Again, use code RAY for the sign up bonus and that free play. Moving over to the screenshot of TJ Watt here doing his signature intro, which is another big thing this year. They showed some of this in the trailer. You know, Justin Jefferson doing his signature run out. Same for TJ Watt. Some of the big name players are going to be doing this when they have the real team introductions this year, which is going to be really cool. But you can see these wearing the leg sleeves, or if you want to call them compression pants. We had these in college football last year. They didn't put them in Madden for whatever reason. I don't know why. Now they're in Madden. So you can see here, TJ Watt, those are the new option instead of just wearing socks. You can also kind of see it here on this shot from Travis Hunter at the end of the trailer. You can see that he's got the compression leg sleeves on. Now what they need to do is make it to where you can only wear one, because that is actually a really big request in both games right now, where, you know, a lot of players in real life are just wearing one leg sleeve, and we want to do that in the game. Now I believe the reason it's not in the game is because it's something they have to kind of completely recode, if I remember correctly, because when you think about it, for a long time most players wore the same thing on both legs back in the day. You know, it's kind of a new age thing where now, even in basketball too, a lot of players just wear one leg sleeve instead of two. So for a long time, the way the game was coded, they had the arms coded differently than the legs, because the arms were always a thing where people would just wear something on one arm and not the other. So the arms are made that way where you can put just something on one arm, but the legs, I guess, were just always coded for whatever you put on one leg, you put on the other. Like the same with cleats. For the longest time, people wore the same shoe on both feet, but now sometimes you see players wear two different cleats or two different colors of the same cleat. So I think that's just something they have to get around to coding, and I would hope they're going to do that soon, because it does seem like a pretty big request. Moving on to this pick here of Michael Penix and Raheem Morris, you can see that it looks like they've updated the flak jackets. Kind of an area that's always been a little off, at least lately in Madden games. They're just really bulky. They make the players look really fat. It looks like they've done work with that. We also saw a little bit of it in the college trailer at certain points. It looks like they have finally did a redo of those and made them look a little more accurate so the players aren't looking so crazy bulky. Also, you probably noticed the coaches in the trailer. They've talked about this a little bit already, how all the coaches are going to have their signature gear. So you could see Raheem Morris dressed like he'll dress. They said he'll even wear Jordans on the sideline because he does that in real life. You obviously see a lot of other coach shots in the trailer, like Kevin O'Connell, for example, and Dan Campbell and things like that. You're seeing that they all have their true to life look now, and that also is going to play into your created coaches. There's a lot of different options in both college and in Madden this year to not just make your coach look one of two ways, just a polo or a jacket. There's a ton of different options, actually quite a bit of them, and they're kind of showcasing a lot of that in the trailer by showing the different things that the real life coaches wear. Those are things that you can also wear on your coach as well. Now, something else that might be hard to see here, but in this shot of James Cook running in the snow, you can see on the sideline they have players that actually wear the big coats now, like you see in real life. Like the QB will have the big coat on the sideline. Not every player wears them, but some do. It looks like they've added that to the game as well. That's not been there before. Usually the only person that would kind of change their attire in the snow would be the coach. He'd wear like a little bubble coat or something, but now players will wear the coats on the sideline, it looks like, as well. Another thing that they showed a lot in the trailer that wasn't so much hidden, but the QB DNA stuff with the QBs actually having real life animations now. And they've had some of these in the past, but they're kind of adding more to it. So now the QBs will really run and throw. And not only that, release the ball like they do in real life. Scott O'Gallagher works on Madden now too, and we saw what he did for college gameplay last year. He was also really big during the peak years of NBA 2K when he worked over there. So him coming over to Madden is really a good thing. And one thing he talked about even on Twitter was that for a QB, their release is like a basketball player's jump shot, right? Like every QB has a different release. Obviously, some of them have similar ones, but you know, they have different ways that they throw the ball, release it. Sometimes they sidearm, that different angles they use to throw, the way they throw on the run, their tendencies. And he wants to make those QBs feel like themselves. So Patrick Mahomes shouldn't feel like Kyler Murray when he throws the ball. And you see a bunch of that with Allen and Goff and Mahomes in the trailer. But an interesting one is when they showed Caleb Williams. I don't know if everybody caught this, but this is the literal animation that he used last year when he made that crazy pass down the sideline where he did that jump throw. Obviously, we've seen him do these crazy things in college at time as well, but so far in the NFL, you know, that was kind of a big thing that he did. So you can do that with him in the game. If you're on the run, if you're under the right circumstances, he can make that type of a throw, which I think is pretty cool that they kind of snuck that into the trailer. Another thing you may have noticed, it was quick. I just saw a lot of people asking questions about this particular clip. Yes, that's Randy Moss doing the skull clap at the beginning. Again, all teams have their signature intros now, so it's going to be a lot more realistic than what it's been in the past, where kind of every team was the same generic one. So this is a really cool thing in my opinion. Now, something that they mentioned on the blog on their website was that they're going to be using real Jumbotron graphics in the stadium now for teams. So if you remember, in the past, all the Jumbotrons in the game are very, very generic. They'll just say the team name and they'll show the logo. And so they snuck a little bit of this in the trailer, not for every team, because last I heard they were still receiving these from the teams. They said it should be all ready and good to go when the game comes out, but they don't have them all plugged into the game just yet. But you could see, for example, when the Ravens are doing a run out, if you look at their Jumbotron, that is a real graphic that they use. That's not the typical Madden graphics that we've seen the past few years. Now, I don't know how in depth this goes, but we do know that the teams are sending the literal stuff they use and they're putting this in the Jumbotrons in the game. So you could see that for the Ravens. But now, for example, if you look at this shot from the Steelers, if you look in the top left, you could see it just says Steelers, Steelers, Steelers. So this is the old one. Like I said, it's not updated for every team yet. In fact, most of the clips in this trailer have this style of old graphic in there, but the Ravens one was one of the real ones that was, I guess, finished by the time they were doing the trailer. So kind of just showing you what it's gonna look like versus what it has been looking like. Another thing you might not have caught, because it happened really quickly during this Eagles run out, you might notice Devontae Smith looks a lot more like himself. This is an issue that Madden has had for a while with the player models, and to be honest, it's still an area I think that they could continue to improve. They've improved it a lot more over the last few years. I mean, when you go back to like Madden 20 time, everybody darn near had the same build and was like super bulky, crazy big shoulder pads, and they've been adjusting it and fixing it ever since. Some years it still doesn't look completely right. I still think it's something that they need to keep trying to perfect and make better. But if you notice Devontae Smith, he looks a lot more like himself. He looks slim. You'll also notice in this screenshot of Jaden Daniels, he looks a lot more appropriate as well. In the past, a lot of these really slim, lean players, they just looked a little too big. They didn't look like their true life selves. They looked like, for example, Devontae Smith would look similar to AJ Brown when they're completely different builds. Like AJ Brown's not a lineman or anything, but he's a pretty big receiver. Devontae Smith is a lot more lean. So you'll notice now that they do have new player models in the game for those lean players, and they kind of snuck that in there, something you'd have to really be looking hard to catch. Again, this is all little stuff. It's extra stuff. This isn't, why you should go out and buy the game. You should go out and buy the game because of the new features, gameplay upgrades, franchise mode upgrades. But these are the little things that when you're playing the game for a long time, a lot of people start to care about these things because it just makes the game look a lot more authentic. Another piece of equipment that was not in the trailer, at least that I could see, but it was revealed in this screenshot that went up somewhere, is that they have Guardian caps in the game. You could see it on Damar Hamlin here. So that's just cool because, again, I know a lot of people don't actually like the Guardian caps, but a lot more players are wearing it in real life. And I believe there's actually like a new version of the Guardian cap that's going to debut this year. And I believe that is supposed to also be in Madden because there's a newer version and an older version. Just the same way with helmets. They're always updating helmets and stuff like that. So we should see those versions in the game as well, I would think. But we definitely do have at least the one that's been in the league for the last couple of years. So if you want it to be as authentic as possible, you got Guardian caps. Another thing that you may have not noticed, I didn't really notice this until the equipment guy tweeted about it, but he said that they redid all of the uniforms this year. And like, if you really like a uniform nerd, and you really notice all the little details about it, you would notice that a lot of the uniforms, they have like little parts of them that kind of can be off. So like one of the big things for a while were the collars just weren't 100% accurate. And somebody actually pointed this out on Twitter that he noticed it instantly because, again, if you're like a uniform nerd, you're going to notice it when it's changed because once you see something that's wrong, you can't unsee it. And he mentioned that he saw that it looks like they updated the collars and they just made the jerseys look a lot more realistic, a lot more wrinkles. They look a lot more lifelike. You notice that when you pay attention to it. And the equipment guy responded to it on Twitter and said that they redid all of the uniforms and they all are going to look a lot better when you see them in game. The helmets also are going to shine a lot more. And that's just something, graphically that's supposed to improve over the years, but you really notice it more when you have the game in hand versus like looking at a trailer. And he also mentioned that a lot more throwbacks were added because of this. Once they kind of redid all the uniforms, there are going to be a lot more throwbacks in the game this year that they couldn't get in previous years. A lot of fan favorites that weren't there, those are going to be there when the game drops. So that's pretty cool to know. And another bit of news that they also revealed on Twitter, this isn't in the trailer, but just for people that deal with equipment a lot, they finally fixed the face mask issue with the helmet. So now when you're putting different helmets on players and you go to look at the face masks, you'll only see the face masks that are for that helmet. Because if you're someone that's been in the equipment menus a lot over the years, you know, since they switched over to the new editor, whenever you would look at face masks, it would show you every face mask that was in the game. And most face masks don't go with most helmets. They have specific ones that go with each helmet, and you'd have to like really sift through to find the appropriate ones for that helmet, which is just a real pain when you're someone that likes to edit players and edit equipment a lot. So they have finally addressed that, so now you'll only see the correct face mask for each helmet. Now, if you're also interested in College Football 26, I posted a long video detailing how the game plays with my first-hand experience at EA. If you want to find out more about that, check out this video right here on the screen.